Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, March 20th. Spring officially begins this afternoon, and temperatures will respond here in the Mid-Atlantic region by climbing to noticeably milder levels. There will be increasing amounts of sunshine once a cold frontal system sweeps off the East Coast. The wind will kick up, and temperatures should climb well up into the 50s in most Mid-Atlantic locations. This stretch of milder weather will continue for about 3 days from today through Saturday, likely peaking on Saturday afternoon with temperatures way up in the 60s in many Mid-Atlantic locations. Colder air moves in by Sunday, however, and it looks like much of next week will be on the colder than normal side, and indeed there is a threat for some snow late Tuesday night time frame, and we'll kind of focus in on that upcoming threat over the next few minutes. Well, let's start off by looking at the latest surface map. Here's a cold frontal system just about to sweep to the east coast here, and that'll get rid of all the low clouds and fog that remain along the I-95 corridor early this morning. We'll have increasing amounts of sunshine. The wind will start to kick up, and temperatures will respond by climbing into the low 50s in most Mid-Atlantic locations. Winds will kick up out of the west to northwest later on this morning, and especially noticeable this afternoon. But again, with the return of sunshine, temperatures will respond by climbing up to noticeably milder levels compared to what we've experienced over the last few days. Well, here's the latest infrared satellite imagery loop from the SSEC Wisconsin website. You can see the clearing beginning already here across the eastern part of Pennsylvania, up across the northern part of Maryland and Virginia. Some patch of clearing now breaking out as that frontal system moves off the east coast. There are a lot of low clouds and even some rain and snow showers up in the mountains, but that should stay up in the mountains. We should have mostly sunny skies here in the I-95 corridor from the late morning through the afternoon hours, and with sunshine this time of the year, temperatures will definitely respond, and again, we'll climb up to noticeably milder levels this afternoon into the 50s in most Mid-Atlantic locations. Well, let's take a look at next week's storm threat. Again, we've had many times this winter season where we've had a break to milder weather for a 2-3 day period. Then it gets colder, and oftentimes the end of that warm period has ended with some accumulating snow. We have the threat for something like that to occur again, even though the season will have changed by this afternoon from the winter to the spring. Mild weather right through Saturday, then it turns colder on Sunday and Monday, and then we'll be looking towards the East Coast for a potential storm late Tuesday night time frame. Here's the forecast map for Monday morning from last night's Zero-Z GFS model run. Once again, Arctic high pressure drops from Canada all the way into the northern part of the U.S. This will anchor a cold air mass moving into the eastern part of the country. In fact, this cold air outbreak for early part of next week looks like it'll go way down into the south, which is quite unusual for this time of the year. But notice here, strong winds along the east side of the Appalachians, pushing cold Arctic air all the way down the east coast. The typical rain-snow line way down at this time come Monday morning, way down into the Carolinas and Georgia. Very cold, very far south for this time of the year. Now here's the forecast map for Monday evening, 12 hours later, and we'll continue to look at 12-hour increments. Notice here a lot of moisture gathering itself here in the Gulf of Mexico as of the early part of next week. Meanwhile, Arctic high pressure remains anchored across New England, out over the middle part of the country. A very cold air mass for this time of the year, sitting right there over the northeastern quadrant of the country. Let's now jump ahead 12 hours. And here's the forecast map for Tuesday morning. At this time, low pressure moves off the southeast U.S. coast. Lots of moisture. Meanwhile, high pressure still anchored over the northern part of New England. Cold air all the way down into the Carolinas at this time. Again, this is Tuesday morning. Now, all that Gulf moisture ends up resulting in a coastal low just off the southeast coast. At the same time, notice here the GFS is reflecting surface low pressure out over the Midwest. This is a key player. We'll take a look at the upper air pattern in a moment, but there's a very vigorous upper level trough dropping into the 500 millibar level, and that is really the key player in this upcoming potential storm for the latter part of Tuesday night, Wednesday time frame. Let's now jump ahead 12 hours. And here's the forecast map for Tuesday night. Now, by this time, that upper level feature has kind of combined with that Gulf moisture to really cause an explosion of the pressure off the East Coast. A very powerful looking storm well off the East Coast at this time. And it does have some snow going back to the I-95 corridor, but at this time, it's kind of brushing the I-95 corridor, but it's way too early in the game. The potential is there. Multiple model runs have had a substantial development of this low pressure system off the East Coast in the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame to very, very low pressures. Very strong storm possibility. The question is, how close to the coast will it hug in the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame? Let's now take a look at the upper air pattern, because that is the crucial player for this potential upcoming event. Here's the forecast map for the 500 millibar level from last night's 0Z GFS model run for Tuesday morning, and then we'll look at Wednesday morning. This is the key player, a very vigorous upper level low pressure system here, a deep trough at 500 millibars, depicted by all the models. It definitely appears to be a very strong upper level feature coming into the eastern part of the U.S. in the early and middle part of next week. Lots of Gulf of Mexico moisture by this time already moving towards the coastal region here. Now, exactly where this ends up lining up will dictate exactly where that storm intensifies rapidly. If it coalesces a little bit too late for the I-95 corridor, it could become a big snowstorm for New England. But if it intensifies more rapidly, a little bit farther to the south and west down the East Coast, it could end up being a significant snowmaker for the I-95 corridor. Way too early in the game to know the details of that. Let's now jump ahead 24 hours. And here's the forecast map at 500 millibars for next Wednesday morning. Very vigorous upper level trough sitting right here over the Carolinas. Now, one thing I want to point out is one of the things we look at as meteorologists is how the tilt of the upper level trough. This is pretty neutral at this time, basically north to south. Positioning to this upper level trough as of next Wednesday morning, and that is kind of a key to and what we'll look for over the next several days to give us an idea of exactly where that coastal storm will intensify rapidly. If this becomes more of a negatively tilted trough by this time, and by that I mean the orientation will be more of a northwest to southeast. If that happens in this location, expect the low to intensify very rapidly closer to the coast, producing more of a threat for the I-95 corridor. So these are the sorts of things we'll look at over the next several days. Indeed, a very impressive looking upper level trough. Exactly how that's oriented by the time it reaches the eastern part of the country next Tuesday or Wednesday will dictate exactly where that potential powerful coastal low will develop, and whether or not it'll be a big snow threat for the I-95 corridor or up in New England if indeed it forms a little bit later in the game. So that's what we'll monitor over the next several days. That's it for now. For the SIWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.